Kindred? Oh shit! With the newest cinematic for the launch of the 2024 season, Kindred was a very big part of the whole video and might interest some people in learning the champion. With that, I finally took the time to experiment and make a guide for my favorite champion. Welcome to my 2024 season Guide to Kindred. Before we get started, I would like to say that if you want my full thoughts on the new season changes and the patch, you can go check out my podcast at the Don Bozos Podcast, where a friend and I will be talking about everything. The episode will probably come out a few days after the posting of this video, so make sure you go check out the channel. This is also my opinion, of course. I have been playing Kindred for a decent amount of time and hit D1 for multiple seasons now. I'm not calling myself the best Kindred at any means, but I often keep up with the best builds watching other Kindred mains and whatnot. With all that said, let us begin. The two main things I will be covering in this video is basic pathing and the build that I think is the strongest right now. Obviously, this all can change with updates and patches, but I wanted to get this video out for many people looking to learn Kindred in the early season. Let's begin with pathing. If you came to learn how to play jungle as a role, I would recommend learning how to play the role before watching this video. But if you have a basic understanding of the jungle, let's continue. In the new season, they made clearing a little harder in the early game, so full clearing may not be as viable, but I didn't really do that as Kindred personally anyways. I believe that every game you should play is through bot, despite the bot lane matchups. I've always been big on stacking dragons, and since they made it harder to solo dragons, getting bot lane priority is important more than ever. I would take these early paths. On Kindred, you always want to start red buff for the early regen and the extra true damage. So on blue side, I recommend doing red buff into raptors, gromp, blue buff, wolves, then run into bot lane. On the red side, I recommend doing red buff, raptors, gromp, blue buff, then bot lane. Red side, you do one less camp than the blue side, so if you find your timings really weird, you can skip wolves when playing on the blue side if you think the bot lane timing is better. You can always, of course, path differently depending on your playstyle, but this is what I've been doing for a while now, and it still works in 2024. Now, let's get into the main part of the video, the build. Let's first start with the runes. I still think Conquer is the best for Kindred, but if the opponents do not have any tanks or bruisers, the press attack is really good because it is a better rune in the early game, but not as good late if they have HP. So always bring Conqueror unless they are all squishy. I like to bring Relentless Hunter as a secondary because Kindred has slow base move speed, so it helps them move around faster in the early game. 2024 changes introduced a lot of things, but the main one is item changes. With the removal of mythic items and the addition to more items, there have been a lot of discussions when it comes to what to build on Kindred. The main thing I had to think about is if crit is better or bruiser. When the mythic change first came out a couple years ago, crit was insanely good, with the Gale Force Collector build getting built on most AD carries, including Kindred. But in the 2023 season, we saw a rise in the Trinity Force build. Both builds are incredibly good in their own times, but now I had to think of what is currently better. After looking at many different stats and playing for a decent amount, I can say that Bruiser is still the better option. Okay, it is time what I think is the best build for Kindred. For boots, you want to go plated steel caps or mercury treads, depending on the situation. Pick up your boots when you think it is necessary. I think the obvious first item to build is going to be Kraken Slayer. Really good build path when it comes to early clearing, and you want to grab that noon cover early because it just increases that clear speed time. Kraken overall gives really good stats when it comes to early and mid game fighting. The next item is where the bruiser comes in. You want to rush? Experimental Hexplate. This may confuse a lot of you, but just let me explain. All of the stats it gives is really good. 55 attack damage, 20% attack speed, plus an additional 300 health. If you're comparing it to Trinity Force, which is what a lot of people are still building right now, you get 1080 more, but 13% less attack speed. But the main stat that Triforce is wasting is ability haste. Kindred doesn't scale with haste very well since their Q is based off of level and is naturally lowered within the W. The main reason why I think Hexplate is so good is the other two passives it gives. Having a lot of haste for your ultimate is insanely good on Kindred. They have one of the longest base cooldowns in the game and is so impactful for yourself and the team when used correctly. Having that boost in attack speed and movement speed when you ult is also really good, especially if you are dropping ults for your team or even yourself. It makes your kiting possibility super insane. The next two items you want to build are Wit's End and another new item, Terminus. Wit's End offers you the magic resist you may need into the opponent team and gives nice combat stats as well as tenacity, which is really huge. Terminus is a new item introduced in 2024 and is an on-hit item that pairs very well with the Bruiser build on Kindred. Every auto changes the passive between light and dark. Light attacks against champions increase your magic resist and armor, and the dark passive increases your armor and magic penetration. Both passives stack and last for 5 seconds. You can build these 2 items in any order you think is better for the situation of the game you're in. And the last item you want to build is Guardian's Angel. This one is pretty self-explanatory as it serves a great late game passive with the Resurrection. And that pretty much sums up this short and sweet Kindred guide for the 2024 season. I hope you guys enjoyed this different type of content and let me know if you want to see me do another guide on one of my secondary champs. Thanks for watching.